Is T. Higgins someone that would be a fit in Washington? I've always admired him and liked his game, but I'm wondering if he's a good enough, like, opposite to Terry McLaurin if you're trying to build a receiver room, because he runs a lot of those square in digs, crossers, drags, a lot of that same stuff, and Chase is a vertical guy. How would they fit together? I'm trying to think about Washington maybe making a play for
Yeah,
Higgins.
I think he fits very much. Plus, he's a big guy. He'll do a lot in the running game as well. He's a physical type guy. He's a good red zone target, too, with the back shoulder fades and the fades. Sorry, I said fade, but he can also do all those stuff in the red zone. So a good compliment to Terry. I think he's a good player and physical type player and an easy target for a quarterback. You know, those guys that are 6'4", you know, they don't have the blazing speed, but they're very friendly targets. They find the open spaces and they're easy to hit.
Do you view him as a wide receiver one type, or more of like a Z kind of like a second possession threat to a Jamar Chase?
Yeah, probably more so like that. You know, I think you got to have somebody opposite him that can really run. Fortunately, Terry can really run, and you need to have somebody. You got to have some more speed out there, like they have Jamar Chase. You know, you don't want him to be your number one and have your number two guy be another guy that's not a very big, you know, a fast guy. You got to have some speed out there. And not saying T can't run, but I just think you need a little bit different type of receiver for your opposite receiver T, whether it's 1A or 1B or whatever it might be.
Jay Gruden on G&D. All right, let's go around the NFL. So the Lions had their big Thursday night win over Green Bay. The Eagles barely beat Carolina, but they hung on. They're 11-2. They're a game back of Detroit. And I think they have an easier remaining schedule than the Lions do. They could still get the 1 seed. How big is the gap between the Lions and the Eagles in terms of being the best in the conference?
I don't think it's very big at all. I think the Eagles are playing better defense right now. I think the Lions are much better consistently on offense. They can hit you a lot of different ways right now. Obviously, the Eagles' passing game isn't quite up to speed, and the running games are pretty equal with Montgomery and Gibbs and Barkley. Barkley's having a legendary year, but if you add up Gibbs and Montgomery's numbers, I think they'll be pretty similar. So, yeah, I think both of them can hurt you on offense, but defensively, where I give the Eagles the edge.
All right, so then tell me if you agree with this or not. I've been saying if Washington ends up staying the 7 seed, you would rather go to Philly than to Detroit because you've already played Philly twice. You've been to Philly once. Potentially, they're trying to beat you for a third time, which all makes that a more, I would say, winnable game than playing the Lions for the first time on the road, indoors, in their place. Do you agree with that or no?
They'll both be tough. I kind of would rather, I don't know, I wouldn't be too upset going to Detroit and really getting Jaden after that defense. I think Philly's defense is a little bit harder. Let's wait and see how they do against Philly the second time. That'll tell a lot about how they match up. Because, you know, even a Thursday night game, it wasn't that bad of a, you know, it wasn't like it was a massacre. It was a close game.
Well, they had a chance to take the lead if they would have kicked the field goal with about 8 minutes left.
Yeah, exactly right. So let's see how they face up again with them. But, you know, playing in a dome, fast track, Jaden Daniels' speed, Terry McLaurin's speed. I like the offensive chances. Defensively is where it would be an issue, obviously, but defense is going to be an issue against Philadelphia as well. But I like our chances offensively to really put up a lot of numbers against Detroit.
Wow. All right. That's surprising. I like hearing that. Bills-Rams was the game of the day yesterday by far. L.A. looked healthy on offense, didn't they? They scored 44, ripped off nearly 500 yards. What'd you think of that game? Allen throws for 3 touchdowns, runs for 3. No one's ever done that before and still loses.
Yeah, it was a great game. You know, the Rams came back after a pretty average week last week against New Orleans. They were shut out for the first half and came out like gangbusters against the Buffalo defense, which is supposed to be pretty good, but they did whatever they wanted. Kyron ran the ball. You know, they didn't gash them running the football, but they did a lot of jet sweeps, and Kyron and obviously Puka and Cooper had some big days. If Matthew Stafford was on point, that's a key 3rd down, 4th down conversion, which kept drives alive, and then made enough plays at the end to win the game. So Josh Allen was incredible as usual, but, you know, at the end of the day, the Rams got the victory because Buffalo couldn't stop them.
And the Rams now control their own destiny in the division, 7-6, a game back of Seattle, but they've already beaten Seattle once, and they play the Seahawks in Week 18. So winning out would mean they would win the West. They play San Francisco coming up on Thursday night, short week turnaround here. Then they've got the Jets and the Cardinals before the Seahawks. What kind of chance do you give the Rams, or do you think the Seahawks are the rightful favorites in the West?
No, I give the Rams a big shot. I wouldn't count out San Fran either. They play everybody as well. So, you know, they just put a number on. I think they held Chicago to 4 yards in the first half. Their defense is getting better. And with Brock Purdy and Debo and all those guys at San Fran, you never know. That division is wide open to me, but I think the favorite right now would probably be the Rams, I would guess. I'm just not convinced on Seattle's offensive line, offensive consistency right now. Gino, he can be great one quarter and horrible the next quarter. So I think I'd rather give the edge to Matthew Stafford.
You see, you Jay Gruden with us on G&D. You mentioned San Fran. They were awesome yesterday. They scored 38. They win by 25. That looked a lot more like the Niners teams that get to the NFC title game year in and year out of the last several years. And they did it with a lot of injuries, right? Guarendo's their third back. He ran for 2 touchdowns. Purdy threw for 3 bills. Kittle went for $150 between the hash marks down the field. A lot of stuff in the seam to him. How did they get right, do you think? Because, man, it had been ugly for them in the 3 losses before yesterday.
Yeah, they still have some great players. Juwan Jennings has got paid a little bit in the offseason. He's a good player. They still got Debo. They still got George Kittle. They got Brock Purdy. So they got some weapons. They'll get Trent Williams back here pretty soon, too, which will help out a lot. Playing their backup running back. I know Christian McCaffrey's a Pro Bowler, but having your second, third running back is not the end of the world. Hell, we played with Fat Rob a couple games, so you can do it. You can function with third, fourth string running back, but third, fourth string quarterback unfunctionable.
So this is funny. A guy in the YouTube chat right before you came on said something like, "I hope Jay Gruden talks about Rob Kelly today," and I'm like, "Why on earth would he talk about Rob Kelly?" And then you threw out a Rob Kelly mention.
Yeah. Rob Kelly, we had him. He was looking a free agent, and I kept saying, "Who the hell is this fat guy? He's looking pretty good." And sure enough, he had to be our starter because Geis and everybody else got hurt. So you never know when your number is going to be called. You just got to take advantage. If you look at Chris Rodriguez, what he did, he got cut last week and almost rushed for 100 yards on Sunday. So these guys given the opportunity. There's a lot of good backs out there that have never got the opportunity. They have good vision. They have good size. They can run. There's not a lot of positions open for those guys to get opportunities. And when they do, a lot of them take advantage of it.
Speaking of which, have you seen this kid, Cam Scattaboo?
No. Who the heck is that?
Arizona State. He's a...
Oh, yeah. I saw a little bit of him. Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's a white tailback. I think he's Mike Allstott, but that's probably just lazy because he's white. But, dude, he's a battering ram. He runs like a 4.58, maybe a 4.6. He's 225 pounds. His numbers are preposterous. And I was looking it up today. He catches the ball out of the backfield. Like, he does everything. I'm like, why isn't anyone talking about this kid as an early round pick?
If he's like Mike Allstott, take him. I was with Mike Allstott in Tampa for a few years. That guy is a monster. Oh, God, yeah. So if he's like that, take him.
I'm going to send you a couple of carries that I found where it's just like his balance and his body lean and the way he stays up. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's wild.
I'd take him just for the name. I mean, that's a hell of a name to have on a jersey. And I mean, I would sell like hotcakes at jersey sales.
Cam Scattaboo. Yeah, Arizona State. He had a field day. He's in the college football playoff. While we're on this off the beaten path here talking college running backs, have you watched much Ashton Genty at Boise State?
I have. That guy's he's like a little fire hydrant. That guy is a rock. He's strong and he's got good flexibility and got great vision. His contact balance is ridiculous. So yeah, he's an impressive guy. Obviously, his numbers prove it.
Do you have any problem with drafting running backs in the first round at all?
I do not if they're this dominant, because you're going to get 5-6 good years out of them, and that those years can be spectacular. You look at the dominance of Saquon Barkley. I'm not saying he's like Saquon, but who knows? He might be as good. You look at some of the top running backs in the history, the impact that they have on your offense and the help they give and open things up. I mean, this guy, you give him a hole, he's out of there. If you don't give him a hole, he's still possibly out of there. So yeah, it makes a big difference, from a guy like that to a 5th or 6th round guy who could be productive. I think he can still rush for 900 yards or 1,000 yards, but this guy has a potential rush for 2,000. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short list all time in terms of the seasons like this one, which is why he's going to end up being at the Heisman ceremony. What is more impressive to you, the year that he's had as a running back or Travis Hunter playing elite level corner and a wide receiver? And I ask that obviously because one of those two guys is going to win the Heisman.
Travis is unbelievable. I did some work on him the other day, and everybody thinks he's going to be a corner and then a spot player on offense, and I beg to differ. I watched him on offense, and for him to play every snap on defense and offense and still have the juice to go do what he does on offense is absolutely unheard of. I ask you, I mean, if Terry McLaurin was the top-ranked defensive back at Ohio State as well as a top-ranked receiver, if he left him at corner and you wouldn't see the production he has as a receiver, you'd feel pretty stupid, wouldn't you? You got to be able to use him on offense if he's as good as I think he's going to be on offense. I mean, this guy can separate. He's great after the catch. He's 6 foot tall. He's got great catch radius. His run after the catch is pretty damn good. I don't know. I got to watch more of this kid, but I was ultra impressed with the film that I saw on him.
So then I guess my question, Jay, is can he do both in the league, or does he have to major in one and minor in the other?
Yeah, the issue is his injuries. He had to miss some time with some injuries, and that's going to happen if you're going to have to play 120 snaps a game. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if you're better off putting him at receiver and then having him in a third down package, red zone package on defense, or putting him at defense full time and having him about 15, 20 plays on offense. I don't know. But he's special enough where I think he could do either and be equally as good. I just don't know right now if I'd rather him feature more on the field on offense or defense. That's what I don't know yet. But offensively, I'd be fighting my ass off to get him on offense.
All right, sounds like we know which way you'd vote for the Heisman Trophy. There's Jay Gruden on G&D. All right, let's get back to the NFL. Sorry for the college football detour there. Watched a lot of college ball this weekend. Looking at the NFC South, so the Bucs overtook the Falcons this week. We'll start with Atlanta. They got doubled up in Minnesota. I thought Cousins was better, but it's still not right. You know, it's 2 interceptions, and one of them was really bad. It was a 1st and 10 and plus territory. You know, when you double clutch and then you throw the ball right to a DB. It's the kind of stuff he didn't do for years. Raheem Morris has come out, said they're sticking with him. He did throw for about 350 yesterday, kept him in the game when their defense gave up 42 points, and Sam Darnold threw 5 touchdown passes. What do you see him when you watch Atlanta?
Well, I see there's some indecision with some of the receivers and Kirk a little bit. You know, the first interception he had to Drake London, that was on Drake. And on the outside receiver, that's a simple high-low concept, and Mooney kind of didn't clear out the corner, and then Drake London just settled into his zone, and there wasn't a zone to settle in, and he had settled right behind the linebacker, and Kirk was waiting for him to clear the linebacker and throw it, and then he sat it down, so Kirk tried to bend him back in there, and Drake just stood there. So sometimes coaches give these receivers too many options to read zones and sit down and all that. Kirk needs precision, and if you're not coming out of your breaks where you're supposed to be, Kirk's going to struggle. The second interception he threw to Pitts, that was a bad throw. He should have thrown the out route. That was a bad decision by Kirk. But overall, he threw for 350, like you mentioned. The Falcons were right there until a stupid field goal block call they called, gave the Vikings back the ball. But defensively, the Falcons are atrocious. We got to get on some of the defensive backs as well. But Kirk has not thrown a touchdown in 4 games, has thrown 8 interceptions. That's a problem. But I got to put some of the blame on coordinator / offensive personnel and routes and precision.
Well, my thing with them is, like, I think you may have worked a little bit with Zach Robinson. I don't know. But I just don't understand. They don't run any play action, really. They don't run anything under center. Like, we've talked about this in D.C. for years and years, where Washington will go get a guy and then they'll use them differently. The idea that you'll just have him standing there and pistol and in the gun the whole time, I just don't understand why they're not playing more to his strengths. It's very odd.
Especially when you have Bijan Robinson, maybe it's they got to spread things out because Pitts can't block the point of attack tight end. I think Washington fell in that situation a little bit last year with Logan Thomas. So they had to do a lot of shotgun. I don't know. There's a lot of issues involved in the running game, but having Bijan Robinson and Aguilar, how do you pronounce his name? Algier.
Tyler Algier.
Great. These are 2 great backs now, and to use that as your first option, and then Kirk play passes off of it. That's a perfect combo, I would think. And unfortunately, they're not using it to their benefit.
Yeah, they're now on the outside looking in at 6-7. But with 4 to go, their schedule gets a little softer here. They've got the Raiders and then the Giants, and then a Commanders team they're chasing in the wild card, so they would have a shot. But what about the Bucs who overtook them? I thought they really struggled with the Raiders yesterday.
Yeah, that was they jumped on them early. I thought it was going to be a blowout, and then they just kind of let the Raiders back in the game. And Baker threw a couple bad interceptions, and the Raiders had a chance to really take the lead. Then their quarterback got hurt, but I think they're playing pretty good. The loss of Godwin has hurt them a little bit. Mike Evans is still coming back from his injury. Kate Otton's doing a pretty good job. Rashad White, Bucky Irvin didn't play. They have a pretty dangerous team. Defensively, they're not bad, but you're right. Some of these teams, they come in on the road and they just have nothing to play, nothing to lose. They just come out and lay it all on the line and give teams trouble. And that's what happened yesterday. But the good teams usually prevail at the end, and that's what Tampa did.
Steelers doubled up the Browns just about 27-14. Another 2 touchdowns for Russell Wilson. He's got just 3 picks since he took over as starter 8 weeks ago. He's done a really good job protecting the football. I think they're the best team nobody talks about. To me, the Steelers at 10-3, Jay, are very capable of making a Super Bowl run. I mean, would you say they have that kind of talent, or are they a little light for you in that regard?
No, I think when you play sound defense and you don't turn the ball over, you're going to be in every game. That's what the Steelers are right now. And Russell's had some really impressive games, some big-time number type games. Yesterday wasn't that big a deal. He threw a couple touchdowns only for $120 or something like that. But, Najee Harris is running hard. They have a good running game, and they play good defense. So when you have a good running game, you play good defense, AFC North type football, that carries over into December and January.
The Eagles survived the Panthers yesterday. Carolina looks a lot better. Bryce Young looks a lot better. We'll get to him in a second. I think Dave Canales is doing a good job. But for Philly, they survived that game. Jalen Hurts on 21 attempts threw for 108 yards yesterday. There's just something not right about their passing game. A.J. Brown was annoyed on the sideline again. I don't know what it is, but you watched them. You watch them every weekend, but you saw them against Washington. Like, they're just not in sync like they were a couple years ago.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he's got a new coordinator, Kellen Moore, and I don't know. Jalen doesn't look like he's seeing the field very good. He doesn't look like he's willing to take some of the shots. He doesn't want to turn the ball over. He's taking a lot of check downs. He's just being really ultra safe. And obviously their key is Saquon Barkley right now. But for them to really get moving and make a serious run at Detroit and win some playoff games, they got to get the passing game. They're too good on the outside with Devontae and A.J. Brown. Obviously losing Goddard hurt a little bit, but those two guys are dynamic players, and I can understand AJ's frustration. For him not to get a touch until 2 minutes ago in the first half is unheard of. So, Jalen, you got to swallow your pride a little bit, get the ball to your big gun out there. That's number 11.
All right, AFC. Chiefs or Bills? Who's better?
Chiefs are better. They're just more consistent, know how to win at the end, really. That's all you can say. And they're going to be tough out at Arrowhead. If they get that home field advantage, they'll get Hollywood Brown back. They'll be able to make some bigger plays in the passing game. I know Xavier Worthy's a fast guy, but he's not really a route runner yet. He just has a straight line speed guy. They need some help, some guys that can run some routes, get down the field. Hollywood will help them out a lot. Getting the left tackle situated will help out a lot. But defensively, McDuffie and obviously Chris Jones, they have 2 all-star type guys on defense. They're always going to be in games. And if you're in a game, late in the game, who do you want to have the ball in your hand more than Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, there's nobody in the league. All right, so you're saying the Chiefs are better than the Bills. Then what's your pecking order in the AFC after that? Is it Buffalo, and then I would think Pittsburgh, Baltimore in that conversation? Do you believe in the Texans? Like, how do you see the conference behind Kansas City?
Well, I think Texans are awful right now. I think their offensive line stinks. I don't know. They've really degressed, in my opinion. I thought the Texans might be able to make a run at the AFC Championship, but after watching them play, not a chance. I think Pittsburgh, you got to give them a chance because of their physical style of football that I mentioned that carries over into January. Obviously, Baltimore, they get things right offensively. Defensively, they'll be right in it. I think Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Buffalo, those 4. That's it. The Chargers are done. They don't have any skill outside of McConkey, and he's been out. And Denver, not a chance. And I don't know who else is going to make it.
There you go. Jay Gruden on Grant and Danny each and every week right here at 5 o'clock on Mondays. By the way, I had a cookie swap this weekend at the house for a little holiday get-together. So that means everyone brings cookies, and you leave it on the table, and then you can take someone else's cookies, and you fill up a bin with everyone's cookies. What's your preferred?
You kept them all.
What's that?
You kept them all, didn't you?
Oh, I ate all. I pummeled so many cookies. It's unbelievable. What's your preferred cookie of choice, Jay?
Oh, God, that's a tough one. I like macadamia nut for some reason. Like when I go to Subway, you get a choice between oatmeal and the chocolate chip and macadamia nut. I like macadamia nut, and I like chocolate chip. Those are good. There's a lot of different cookies, but that's the most common ones that I would prefer.
I'm out on macadamia nut, so we would make good friends. You could keep those. I'll do the chocolate chip.
I love chocolate chip too, but macadamia nut for some reason. I like the crunch. I like the, I don't know.
All right. I'm fine with it. I'll let you have it. What about, you said you go get a sub. What's your normal sub order? What's your go-to?
You get a turkey. I loaded up turkey, some cheese. I put it in a toaster a little bit. Then I get lettuce, onion, tomato, a little bit of oil, vinegar, salt, pepper, jalapenos, all that good stuff.
I like it. This guy knows what he's doing. Come on. Jay Gruden, ladies and gentlemen, on G&D. All right, good convo. We will get back with you next week after the Commanders go to New Orleans and get a big win over the Saints. How about it?
Yeah, let's blow them out. Let's blow them out.
I mean, no Derek Carr, right? 31st ranked defense in the league, dead last against the run. Feels like a big Brian Robinson game.
All we got to do is everybody look for Alvin Kamara and make sure we have somebody over the top of Valdez Scantling for a big play, and it's going to be a bloodbath.
Ooh, bloodbath. Let's go. All right, Jay, we'll talk to you next week.
You got it. See you guys later.
All right, grab that audio, Darius, if things go ugly, so that we can remind Jay